and we are living crazy times. We are living in crazy times. 2020, COVID, we couldn't do the marriages. 2021, even crazier.
We
You
did.
announced. We did. Whatever you do, it's okay because you can get divorced just by sending an email.
Oh, this one is savage question. On the other hand, a very practical advice: if you do apply, do prune a little bit your pictures online. It does help.
I would like to introduce your favorite question ever. Let's talk about self matches.
No, because Auntie, once you said something very nice, and I wrote it down. I'm just going back to, and it wasn't this time, but it was in the past. Another thing also, going back to the matches, I think as an applicant, which I think you said, it's very interesting that these marriages are not just your journey, but there's so many bigger things. Like they work out so many big things at a higher level. And for example, one as such is I've heard a few people say, Shri Mataji, of course, wanted to bridge cultures, right? So you get an Indian with an American, or a Russian with a German, so they have different cultures, and that the bridges. Another, they told me, is each country has some strong chakras and some weak ones. So again, by inbreeding, you kind of mix it and you make it better. But one thing they also said, which was quite amazing, is that mostly, and I don't know if you feel it's correct, but mostly people are married at even level. Spiritually, they're like kind of at the same level, the people that are matched, but not all the time. And sometimes at the starting of the marriage, you're a bit slanted, right? But that's not a reason to say no, because that evens up along the way. Or maybe sometimes also your role in life is to help that person, like to see these marriages also not just as your thing, but like there's a global thing happening and you're part of it. And sometimes your job is to get this person a bit higher, and then together you rise. You must have seen this with some couples maybe also happening.
Yeah, for sure. Or sometimes you're maybe in a strong and balanced place spiritually, and then you help the other. And then another time you're a mess and the other person's really solid
And they
spiritually.
level up. Exactly.
So that's what one of the things that marriage is, really. We keep each other growing, or help each other to grow. Yeah.
So I have like 4 more questions, and then we can play a game. But I think, Fabrizio, do you want to ask about the CJ?
Okay, so yes, one thing that we have heard is that also this year we have marriages in CJ in the US, which is a very nice news. And so we wanted to ask also, first of all, how that is going, but also how easy or difficult it is, and is it usually successful when you try to go to other places, like also maybe Brazil, and how important it is to the job to go around the globe and establish that principle around,
Yeah. Marco, you want to?
Okay, well, you tell us how
Oh,
is
well,
it
I'll tell
going
you.
with Canajohaire first, and then I'll
Yeah,
add.
So, breaking news, very exciting news. Yeah, there will be marriages at Canajohaire this year for not any. There won't be matching as such as there will be for Ganesh Puja in Kabela, but there will be folks who have been previously matched and maybe civilly married but didn't have a chance to have their Sahaj ceremony yet, or folks who were married outside Sahaj and would like to have the blessings of the Sahaj ceremony. So yes, so far 16 couples, very nice number for the Vishuddhi. And then I'll turn it over to Marco about marriages in different countries.
Okay. Then okay, let's go back to the first question: how mother used to do marriages. She did marriages in several different places, and she did, of course, in India, in Australia, in US, in Russia, in Cabela. In let's say after the mid 90s, Cabella and Ganapatipule were two key places where every
Yeah.
year there were marriage ceremonies, but also maybe there was every year a different place. And having again marriages in the USA after Shri Mataji had a few, it's a very great occasion, and it's very much in line with what we as IMC are trying to build. So we started doing basically matching and managing the ceremony in Cabella only from 2010, 11. And mm, what we did, as I told you previously, is not just match people who are present, but also create matches also for people who cannot be there. And the principle is that people who are matched but cannot be in Cabella to marry immediately might want to get married either, I don't know, legally in their own country, then come to Cabella later on, or get married in
Yeah.
other marriage ceremony that are already taking place. Uh, but thinking at how the collective is growing, the idea more and more is to create marriage ceremonies all over the world. So we started Brazil, as you
Yeah.
anticipated. So we started doing or arranging marriages in South America, in Brazil, and they happened a few times. And um, in order to do that, for many years, we had some training sessions um, for an international team of yogis and yoginis who would be there in Cabella, get this training live from Uncle about how to perform a marriage ceremony, a collective marriage ceremony. We're not building a network of Brahmins. We are creating, some teams that around the world can arrange and put together a marriage ceremony. And this potentially in the future will happen in all continents. Right now, actually, we in relation also to the matching part of it. Why we doing matching only in Cabella and not in other places? We're doing most of the matches in Cabella because we can collect, like as you said, 700, 800 applications, and all the applicants are there, and they all get the best chance to get the best match, of course.
Yeah.
We tried on one occasion to do some matching specifically in one of these international pujas. It was, I think, Buddha Puja, um, and a few years ago. But the thing that happens is that now there is less and less international sort of traveling for international pujas, and you get to have a base of participants which is more limited. And
Yeah.
on that occasion specifically, we didn't have men. So
Yeah.
we had a lot of women, but you can't do marriages with only women.
Takes two to
So
tango.
yeah, um, that is something that is changing, of course, in our collective, and maybe in some places it is more of an issue. Some other places it's not, but definitely, things will also evolve, and
Yeah.
more will be able to arrange marriage ceremonies around the world. For now, matching will be mostly centralized ones here in Cabella. Also because doing this work of matching is not
Yeah.
something that you can do every month. Like we start collecting application from April to or April or May till July. Then it takes 1 month to do the first screening of all the application. Then we will have to review and do all the preparatory works, print all the application. Then we come and take 10 days to do all the matches vibratorily, and it's not an effort that you can replicate so easily
Yeah.
unless you go back to the, let's say, all the framework where you match only the people that are at pujas, but
Mm,
then you get into this issue that maybe you won't have enough.
mm,
Less accessible, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, next question. And we are living crazy times. We are living in crazy times. 2020, COVID, we couldn't do the marriages.
Mhm.
2021, even crazier,
We did.
you announced. We did. You announced the couples during the Guru Puja, and basically the couples had like 3 to 4 weeks to actually say yes to their match. And people that put their name down years before said, "Well, that's Andy." And by the following year, you gave 3 days. So the question is, why don't you keep that 4 weeks of time? And what is actually the proper protocol that Shri Mataji gave us?
Okay, okay. Well, as we said before, Victoria was matched one day before, and I was matched probably 2 days before. So we're in that same situation. But when we created this process and protocol, we referred to the ways that Mataji had established, as I said, after mid 90s, and uh, so we are not aware why Schumann came to this structure of performing marriages and giving only a few days to applicants to decide. But there must be a reason why, and we are trying to follow that with enough flexibility, meaning if there is a global
Mm.
pandemic, maybe we can find a different solution instead of stopping having marriages like for 1 year. So we did it because people needed to have the time to understand, to get first of all the permits and the vaccination needed by the countries,
Yeah.
to move, and maybe they didn't know even if there were flights. So they needed really time to arrange, their trips and everything. So it was an exceptional event. Now we are going back to that sort of legacy way of doing it, but we have done some effort. And in the past years, we used to announce on Thursday evening, which would basically leave only 2 days, Saturday and Friday and Saturday of the Puja day. And for the people who are actually coming to Cabella or to wherever the ceremony will be. For now, Cabella, we have anticipated the announcements to Tuesday. So we are in the past year we
Two extra
started.
days.
Yeah, twice we did this, so that they effectively have some more time.
It's worth mentioning also, I would say, that we did get feedback from both sides when there was a longer amount of time. Some people said, "Oh, great, I could, take the time, get to know the person," and other people like, "Way too much time. All I started doing was thinking. The negativity was
Yeah.
attacking." So there's definitely camps for both, and also the idea that if you're ready, then whether you have a day or a month, it might not make that much of a difference, because it's really on the worldly sort of things that people think, "Oh, that's really rushed." But in the divine timing, it's all kind of, yeah, it's all as it should be.
For all those people that complain about the 3 days, just wait for the next pandemic.
Yeah, yeah,
Next,
exactly.
next,
Excellent advice.
next question. And so this is like, I heard it a lot from Yuva Shakti and the young people. Sometimes someone might put their name down when they're really young and they're like, maybe I'm not ready for a marriage, but I might be ready for an engagement. Is that possible?
Well, let's say that formally engagements are not possible in this framework that I described. Um, but practically, then for the people who are not coming, for example, the fact that we announce match and we provided 2 or 3 months to decide is similar to, I would say, an engagement. But when we talk, about engagement, then I would say the word elicits some of our conditionings coming from, very, and in each
Yeah.
different culture, we have different ways of understanding the word engagement. So, as an example, Shimataji did some engagements in the early days, and like in the 80s, maybe, I don't know if at the beginning of the 90s also, but definitely up to the 80s. And for some people, for some yogis and yoginis, for some couples, she did. Then frankly, she stopped doing it, and those engagements were very pure type of engagements, meaning sometimes she would sit with the couple. When the couple would meet, she was sitting with them. And that was the idea of engagement that was there. But we tried a few years ago to talk about engagements, or to even we had created a form of engagement, but it was not well received by the collective, many in the collective, just because of this, because the understanding that we have as human beings of engagement is different. Secondarily, we decided that if Shimataji was not doing it, after all, again, must be a reason.
Why would you?
And finally, people, in any case, they don't have to say yes immediately. Nobody's forcing any couple to say yes immediately. That is something that people have to know. uh, but don't take it lightly on the other side.
Yeah.
So if you came there for marriage, for, and you feel that that's the right way to go, sometimes, you know it's an excuse not to really go ahead with
To
that choice,
commit.
and
Yeah.
commit.
So one question also that we were asked was, um, if somebody is not matched and the IMC knows, would it be possible to let them know in advance? I assume the rationale behind it is that you don't have to sit and be have all the anxiety when the matches go through. So they were asking, why can't we let them know a bit in advance if they're not matched? I
Okay.
think Auntie Victoria or
Logistical. It's a logistical nightmare, first of all. But yeah, Marco maybe can answer more precisely. So
No, I mean, yeah, of course, we are definitely focused on those who are going to get married, because that's our goal, and that's why we are there. Uh, but at the same time, why should we tell somebody that they will not be matched when, frankly, they might have
mm,
still an opportunity,
a chance? Yeah,
because a chance to get married until the last day. As we said, we try to, go through the matches in a certain order, giving priority to those who are there, and we ask the people who are coming and who intend to get married to come earlier, because they will get a chance to meet their match and talk and
yeah,
discuss and and see each other. That's why we tell them, and we announce those first. But then we start announcing, all the couples also that other are not coming, for example, or in some cases some rematches. And that means that we are going on doing more and more matches,
yeah,
and you never know if somebody of those who were not selected in the first place might end up in a further selection along the way.
exactly.
So until last moment, we really
yeah,
cannot say if somebody will be matched or not. What we try and do, and we are not always successful, again for logistic reasons sometimes, is to then send an email to those who were not matched.
Yeah,
But after all, they will know it, because if the marriage ceremony
they
is
weren't called.
done and they were
Yeah,
called,
but
probably.
and also, oh, yeah, one thing just to add is, of course, we know it is such an intense experience. It's you're there, match, no match. But we do encourage just that more wider, like Marco said, it's a family. What a joy to hear matches of our brothers and sisters. And we would hope, even if you personally are disappointed, that you can still kind of connect with and tune into that amazing, auspicious joy that we all feel the nights that the announcements are
Yeah.
made. I mean, it's an amazing feeling, and how nice to be happy for others, even if your own situation, it is a factor, obviously, but hopefully
Yeah.
not the only factor. Yeah.
Also, I assume that what Uncle Marco described is fluidity of the couples and the rematching, and to a certain extent, the fluidity of the environment. It's not even a modern thing. It was like that even when Shimaji was there. I mean, the story that Auntie Victoria actually talked about
The short
was like
story.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the short story is that you were matched, then it changed, then it changed. So I think this is also something important, because I've heard some people saying, yeah, and then they do this rematch and everything is a mess. I think it was never a black and white thing. These matches. Even when Shimaji did it, there was a lot of last minute, and I think
A
also
lot of
that's how the
chaos.
vibrations
Yeah.
the vibrations lead to a solution, right?
Yeah. I think she even said a few times there must be chaos. With weddings, there has to be some chaos. So, yeah.
So seems I'm trying my best with this podcast to see how much does it take for the collective to kick me out from Sahaja Yoga for asking weird questions to the guests. I would like to introduce your favorite question ever. Let's talk about self matches. So, how the IMC relate to self match, and it is like okay for leaders to propose matches.
All right. So we go back to the principles, let's say, and to try and then understand what is self-match and what how to manage it. So the one of the principles that is at the basis of such marriages is the purity within the collective of the relationship between brothers and sisters. We talked about family. We say that we are brothers and sisters. That has a meaning. And meaning is that we are not supposed to uh, go around the collective looking for our partner, life partner, and because that spoils the attention, spoils the purity, spoils
Yeah,
the innocence, spoils the Muladhara chakra of the individuals and the collective. And that Shimataji on this point never said something different. There are some things where Shimataji told one thing, but
amazing.
then
Yeah,
she integrated with a different view, looking at from a different point of view, maybe. On this, she was very clear. I'm not happy. I'm not pleased.
yeah,
And even if in the past she has said yes, she even said so. I've said yes because you insisted, because I am a mother. I cannot finally say no, but that doesn't mean I'm pleased. That doesn't mean that there won't be any consequences to
Mm.
if this is done. And so this we should be aware that Shimataji has given us the alternative option, which is to look outside. And it's not easy, of course, because looking outside and finding a person outside, you never know. And you never know who you can find. And let's say, uh, but at the same time, we see that this is happening, and we witness it, but we as IMC cannot sort of
Sanction it.
sanction it. Let's say
Yeah.
that's the word. And it's not a judgment. I would say we are not judgmental when we, but in truth, we cannot sanction something that happens in this way, because it would be against the basic principles on which we operate.
Principles.
And this, of course, then every collective deals with it in different ways, and there are all kinds of variations in how these matches, self matches, happen. But at the same time, again, as I said, we as IMC have to somehow, we decided that we will follow Shri Mataji's indication a bit more strictly on this point.
Mm.
And that is why we're not accepting or sanctioning marriages that are created within the collective, whether they are proposed by the couple themselves, whether they're proposed by the leaders or whoever. Sahaj marriage is done through Shri Mataji's indications and vibrations. That's what we are doing, and that is Sahaj marriage. If you want to do something different, first of all, think about it very well. And but then it can happen. It has happened. It's just that it won't get officially sanctioned in a way by marriage committee.
I think one way to see it also very practically from what you were saying, Uncle, is that self-match, and then there's so many exception in context, whatever, but ultimately that's something that you deal with your own collective, right? You refer or contact the IMC only if you want to get married through vibrations and through the process. And one thing maybe I'd like to add is that be careful, another thing, because I don't think it happens often, but I know that a couple of times it happened. What is also very dangerous is that if you fell in love with somebody and you're like, let's both put our name and see what happens. It's a very bad idea, I feel, because, you know, if you have to do it, just do it. But then if you go there and you both have the wrong attention, now you're screwing up the life of 4 people instead of 2, because you get matched to somebody.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So this idea of let's put our name together, if you know that your heart is given to somebody, you know, don't play with it. Just go for that road. If you put your name, is really because your heart is empty. That should be really the rule.
Or free, You're free.
Free. Yeah, it sounds really bad when you say your heart is empty.
Maybe free sounds better than empty.
Yes, very good.
My cold, empty heart should be filled.
Yes, it's empty of expectations.
There we go. There we go.
Sounds way better.
I had one also question, actually. It's very random and actually brings up to something that we discussed before. But has it ever happened to you here, going through the naughty questions, that you removed yourself from the vibrational check because you were very close to somebody?
Yep. Short answer, yes. Yeah, because yes, we're someone we know well, could be even a family member. Also, if you are in the unfortunate spot where you're close enough, you can actually see the faces on the forms when, I mean, usually we're all far enough back, but if you're especially interested in one, your eyes just might go to, who is that other face on the form? And then, you know, you might just check, but usually we just let the others do it in that situation. I think it's true for all the members, because a few have had nieces or nephews or even their own children. So
this is
that's
part
nice
of our
to hear, I think.
of the sort of rules that we self imposed.
Yeah.
That and of
Which
course
is good
it's
though.
in everybody's choice and discrimination, to select where he wants to keep out and or she
Yeah.
wants to keep out.
And I think it brings up something that we spoke of last time together, was the idea that random bunch of yogis, you know, doing the marriage work, making matches, deciding people's fates. And so it's nice to just to remember that, random or not random, we're in this role because Shri Mataji has us there for this time, and
Yeah,
there's nothing that's going to get in the way of her will in this or other matters. So we've just been blessed to see that, you get kind of carried up to this certain vibrational level. When the marriage work is there, we're all there together, the vibrations sustain us, we feel, you get some extra superpowers. And then
yeah,
after the situation, you go back home and you're back down to your day-to-day yogi life. But so it's not like, is it Marco or is it Victoria? It's not that. It's actually, Shri Mataji's instruments for that time, which we're very absolutely aware and humbled by that fact, to be so, and very grateful.
one very last question on my side, again, something that came up to my mind as we were talking. Um, Going back to applicants, maybe from the beginning of the conversation, do you see any trends? I know, for example, of one that make it a bit more difficult or different in a way, the matching. And I give it this example because I've heard, for example, somebody saying, "Oh, we have less and less, maybe let's say marriages from India to America, or like intercontinental larger." But a couple of reasons that I heard for is, one is, again, there's a whole cabal of alignments of who's attending in person, who's not. So there's logistical real reason. But another one, if I have understood correctly, is also that while before men always says, I want to stay in my country, and women would 90% say, I'm happy to move if I have to. Now you're getting also a bit more. Is it true that you get a bit more also the women want to stay sometimes, and that makes hard to cross marriage from different countries because there's more restriction to a certain extent. Is that a practical problem you're having, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that is the case, and with so many more. How to say, the trend of women being more educated, the yoginis being much more educated. They might have. It used to be pretty often they would just go and join the husband, as you said, and that made the matching all that much easier. Now it's like
Yeah,
they have to choose who's going to go where, because which job prospect is better. And again, the worldly parameters start creeping up, and that is a trend. We have noticed that the worldly situations are factored in a little more robustly by people, and it's not like a negative thing, it's just how it is. But we always do try to keep that vibrational atmosphere so people can get to the subtle part and the subtle connection to make their decision.
And definitely as you said, sometimes we are seeing an increase in this respect of requirements put on the forms,
yeah,
meaning, considering I have this job, or that I want to stay here, or I want my match to come,
The list can be
or I
quite
want a
long,
match.
actually.
And this is not the only reason. I mean, we can have
yeah,
pretty long list of requirements, and again goes back often to expectations, or goes back
yeah,
to family, or goes back to specific situation conditionings. And but of course, we as IMC, uh, we try to feel a vibratorily strong
yeah,
match
Yeah.
which fulfills at least part of those requirements.
yeah,
Why? Because we prefer to find a match which is vibratorily good in any case, instead of getting a refusal for one of those reasons and spoiling, a match.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so at the same time, the more requirements are written in a form,
Yeah,
the less chances you will have to get a match, because
yeah,
Yeah, we
we
never want to
cannot.
say don't. We don't say don't express yourself, because it's worse to have your list in your head of the requirements. You don't say anything, and then time
yeah,
you get a match, and then your list comes out. So we don't want to say, everyone has the freedom to express, and it's helpful. But as Marco said, the list hopefully is not too long. Ideally, no list at all. But if it's there, make it a short
yeah.
one.
At the same time, I feel this point because I mean I know Auntie Vittoria and Uncle Marco from years back, and I've always been close to the committee and see how they work and the limitation that I impose on them. But I think it's not so clear to the average yogi how a lot of the work of the committee is dependent on the applicants. Like it's not such a clear, straightforward view of things. So, in other words, if you say, "Oh, I wish the committee married more people internationally," why they're not doing like this? She might just,
Yeah.
yes, but then the applicants have to have the
Agreed.
openness
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So I think what's very important because, for example, at the time of Shimaraji, I would assume the list of expectation was much lower because she was right there and she'd tell you what to do and move on,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And maybe we evolved also. I don't know. Maybe that's it's more complex. It's possible, but what I really want to state here and let all the yogis understand is that the marriage committee is 25, 20 people, 15, I don't know how many, that are trying to do their best, but they work with the material that is given to them. They're not only permanent people that can, impose things on the collective. So
Yeah.
we as a collective, as family, as applicants, if we do our job, we make it also more successful. It's very important at the individual level that you carry your own weight. I think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
quite clear if you see the work of the committee. But again, I feel the average person I've talked to, they don't have this clarity in mind of what are the limitations pressed upon
Yeah,
the
that's a good
whole
point. I
marriage
think
process.
Uncle joked that it's like a car factory. We, according to the parts that come in, we can put out good cars from the other
Make
end.
a
But
good car.
if the parts that come in are defective, then it's hard to bring out a good car.
uh,
Not defective in the sense a person's defective, but you know what I mean. That it's
yeah,
not a clear cut application with a clear cut
prepared.
recommendation, and yeah.
Yeah.
So we would like to play a game with you. It's the first time that we play a game at the podcast, and this one is called Mythbusters. So we have four, let's say, questions that are like things that people say around, and let's check if they are true or not. First of all, the first one, the first one is all first marriages don't work out. Is that true or not?
False. Busted.
It's busted.
Do you
Oh, by
need
first
more?
marriage,
Do you
you
need more?
mean like you're the first couple? What does that mean, though?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, to be
Oh,
honest.
I think it means the first person you're matched to, because it just so
Ah,
happened that the folks who had difficult or complicated situations and then they didn't work out, they would then spread the word that it never works out the first time. So you just expect it's not going to work out
to
the first time. You kind
fail,
of
yeah.
cruise through the first one and wait for the second one to come around. So, no, in fact, many first marriages and matches do work out.
Okay, second question. Was it easier or smoother when Shimaji was physically present?
Well, in terms of the process, actually the process was the same. So Shri uh, would delegate to yogis most of the
Yeah,
work of the analysis of the forms, even the vibratory matching, and then, but of course, then she would be able to do what the divine does, so the magic, and in some cases cancel some matches and change some other. Uh, so it was not necessarily smoother. The process, if we talk about the process, um, people were more sort of, even the people who were doing, this work knew that somehow then Shri Mataji would probably be
will
able to
arrange.
even fix if something was wrong. In our case, we really have to surrender totally to Shri Mataji in the process, and really try to channel, her will first time.
Yeah, but I think in terms of like smoother, easier ride for the applicants, I think you could say definitely not. Some of the stories from back in the day,
Yeah.
very dramatic, matched 7 times, got refused 7 times, the 8th one said yes, or the
Yeah.
switch on the stage, you with him, her with him, or as Marco was saying, cancel. So it's not like it was all just one and done back in the day when Shri Mataji was physically doing it.
These actually, I've also heard it from a Yuva this summer saying, yeah, if Shimaji was there, I would apply immediately, no problem, and I feel very confident. As if, but that's also what I was thinking, is like, made me think, because like, as if when Shimaji was there, every single marriage worked. And that's not the
Right.
case. Because I think like today, the majority of the matches somehow work and some don't work. And it has nothing to do with, if Shimaji is there in person or not, because even when she was there in person, some matches didn't work. It's about how the couple comes together and work it out.
Yeah, and if you extend this thinking, it's as if Shri Mataji is not taking care of everything even
Exactly.
now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So in this moment, for everybody, in every
Yeah.
situation.
Third question,
Third.
and I added this one. Is it true that you can put your name down, you can get matched, whatever you do, it's okay, because you can get divorced just by sending an email?
Oh, this one is savage question.
Well, depends,
Define
what
okay.
email. Yeah, what are the consequences of that email on you for the future? But this is, we have to go back to the understanding of what such marriage is. If we think of outside marriages as something that is binding because there are some rules, regulations, society acceptance, and so on, these marriages are celebrated before the divine, before Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi, Mother of the Universe, and having that understanding means that probably you think about it, and maybe it has to go in that way. Maybe, as we said before, you have to say no sometimes, but at least come into the process and come whatever happens with the proper understanding of what a Sahaj marriage is, and what Shri Mataji expected from us, and what are, again, the vows. You will see what Shri Mataji wants from us through that, and listen to her talks. I think, if one does this, this thought might not cross the mind
So lightly, yeah.
so lightly. Yeah.
Question number 3. Should every match, for number 4, we can't count in this podcast. We don't know how to count. Should every match be accompanied by signs, dreams, visions? You add that this is the one true cosmic perfect soulmate for you. Not just every, but actually, are the majority of the matches like that?
Mythbusters. Yeah, it's so great that question came up, because it's some people do feel afraid. Well, I didn't get the sign and the lightning bolt and the unicorns running across the stage, so it must not be the one ultimate match for me. These things can grow. It can be very just on that kind of level when you first hear about it, and then you will know. I think just be assured, some people do have those dramatic, I dreamt what my husband looked like, or this happened, that happened, and there are those cases, but they're not for everyone, and it doesn't mean that yours is any less of a divinely arranged match.
Yeah.
Is it
And as Shri
probably
Mataji
safe?
said, sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
go ahead. I'll say later.
Okay. No, and as Shri Mataji said, love is something that you have to build. It's something solid, but you have to build it. It's not that you fall in it like a ditch. So it's a process, and it can start, from a place where you feel something, but you don't have this dramatic experience or dramatic messages. And some people expect always a sign or a message, but sometimes we have to take the decision for ourselves through our discrimination, through our commitment, devotion, and dedication, and surrender also. And sometimes that's our challenge.
It's probably also safe to say that maybe the dramatic experience are in the minority, no? The visions, the dreams, they happen, but very like that's not very
quite a
likely
minority.
actually. But the minority, or the incredible vibrational experience that you just see the person and you're blown off by vibration. It happens, but it's not so common, I would say, no?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's linked again to how much work you did before, but could be.
Put in the hours and you'll get that.
or I can say this as a person who has often dreams with Shimaji, how much you need it, right? Because maybe sometimes people are not there and they need a special treat to get to normal, right? So that's also that aside.
Yeah.
Question number 5. So, for example, for instance, I got matched. So should I check with all my friends, whether yuvas, married, unmarried couples, on whether to say yes or no to my match? Or like checking the birth chart, the astrology chart of someone and send it to Lele because
I think the answer lies within, like, look inside first, I'd say, before you reach out. Also, as well-meaning as the entourage is, they aren't always super 100% balanced, as we were saying before. Like, from a distance, gentle support is great, but them advising you specifically when you're at this very crucial moment in your life, it might be a little risky.
I actually have a story about it. Again, I'll mix up the character, the genders, and the region, so you don't know who it is. But there was a person who was matched to another person, and I was very close to this, my friend. And at the beginning, the other person wasn't so nice, I would say, or as nice I would want them to be. And my very mediocre yogi reaction to that was to go to my friend. I'm like, what is this? Cut it. This is nonsense. How dare da 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 da. And that was absolutely the wrong thing to. Thank God my friend didn't listen to me. But I just then realized later how involved I was, how reactive I was, and the person went through, even though there was first few months of difficulties. And now I love the other person more than my friend, and they're this incredible, amazing person. And then I just realized how much can you screw up things if you're not connected, and if you're in your emotions. It's quite interesting.
It's and just a little off topic, but it's true that when you're saying how did things change over time and what have we seen? Well, what happened was the digital world, took us all by storm. Cell phones, texting. This just wasn't the case before. You actually had to meet the person or had some phone from a phone booth. You had a phone conversation.
Yeah.
But now it's almost can be taken lightly because you just text like, oh, I'm breaking it off. That's like if you want to have a mythbuster. No, you should never, ever make a decision by text with your match.
Yeah.
And just also it can be, once a few years ago, someone was like, oh, I texted them and it's been 3 hours and I got no reply. And they were ready to call off the match because they hadn't gotten a reply. And then the reply finally came, and it was from a person who didn't speak English. First of all, had to go and get the proper translation, took their time and composed the most beautiful message, but it took, more than 3 hours. So again, it's that thing of this instant gratification, or put up the video or look at the text. Yeah. It's really nice to, those will be there. Of course, we can't change that, but just keep the inner side alive as well, I would say.
Also, a scenario that happens really often, and I'm the first victim of this scenario. But it's like when your friend is getting matched to someone, the first thing that people do, that their friends do, is to go on Instagram and check that person. Go on TikTok, Facebook, just check the pictures and be like, yeah, man, go for it.
Yeah. Myth busting required. Because there was a case where someone, if you looked on the Instagram page, it was definitely a bit of a shock and you would want to run away. But the power of transformation, of love, and the marriages itself, and it was a prince afterwards you would not recognize from the Instagram photo. So yeah, Instagram can be deceiving, everyone.
I actually was about to say something about that I had a friend who got matched, and as usual, everybody either look at the picture, Facebook, this and that. And he was quite amazing because he said, I don't want to see anything, I don't want to hear any review, I just want to talk to the other person. And I thought it was pretty impressive, because I don't think I would have had the capacity to block everything. But he was like, no, this is important. I don't want to know what you think about the other person. I don't want to see pictures. I don't want to go and fit. Like, I just want to connect as a human to the other person. And it takes strength in this environment we are to pull that through.
But also, Fabrizio, this is quite recent. This friend of yours that you are trying to protect. I mean, Instagram wasn't there in the 90s. So it's
That's true. No, because all of them, they already knew the person. On the other hand, a very practical advice: if you do apply, do prune a little bit your pictures online. It does help.
Shave. Please shave if you're a guy. Yeah, we have to have the style coaches come and do that beforehand.
So I think that by now we can close the episode. It's been 2 hours. Let's see, what can we keep? I think we're going to keep everything, because everything was interesting, at least to me. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Uncle Marco. Thank you very much, Auntie Victoria. Thank you very much again, Fabrizio, for being the best co-host on the planet. And thank you all. So I don't know what else I can say.
Thank you. Really.
A pleasure, really.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Jai Shri Mataji.